reached out and asked if you had read the indictment, and you said you read it word for word, page for page, right?
I did. I keep up. I love Jackson.
Even though they've not been in court and they've not been found guilty, it's just an indictment at this point.
They don't see it. My first statement was, think of your family. Think about your family. Put your family first.
I never thought in a million years we would have been put in the situation that we were in. Never. Because we went through our whole career doing the right thing.
It's utterly ridiculous to me. Utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. And good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's edition of the Othor Cain Show. I'm Othor Cain. Glad to have you aboard on a Tuesday, returning from a long weekend, Labor Day weekend. Hope you had a great, peaceful, relaxful weekend. We are glad to have you here. I want to do a promo for a show coming up on next week. Next week, we are working on bringing this coalition of Jackson State University supporters. They call themselves the 1877 Project. We're working to bring them on. We're working to bring on a representative from IHL to have a real conversation about the presidential search at Jackson State University. So we're really looking forward to that show next Tuesday. So we want to make sure that you are in the place. Jackson State has gone through so many presidents, and this group 1877, they want to make sure not only are they involved, but that IHL gets it right this time. I am convinced part of the problem really has been some shaky hires that's been done by the Institution of Higher Learning. And so hopefully we'll have them on so that we can have a conversation about that. At the last IHL meeting, I don't know if you had an opportunity to catch the live stream or not, but they were open, they were transparent. They read 1877, that group, they read their statement. Dr. Stephen Cunningham has been named chair of the search committee for the presidential search at Jackson State University. And so we've reached out to try to get him on the show for next week. So listen, thank you again for being here. We're going to jump right into our conversation tonight. This is the first time that we've talked in a formal format, since he is now doing dual roles as both the police chief of the Jackson Police Department and serving as sheriff of the Hinds County Sheriff's Department. So I don't know if you put chief first or if you put sheriff first. I don't know if it's sheriff chief or chief sheriff. I think for me, it might be sheriff chief since he was the sheriff first. That would be mine. He is the second person to hold this role, the first being the late Malcolm McMillan. Malcolm McMillan was appointed by Frank Melton, I believe, to do dual roles, to serve as the chief of police of the Jackson Police Department when he was also serving as sheriff. Nonetheless, excited now to bring into the stream, I'm going to say Sheriff Chief Tyree Jones. Hey, brother, how are you, man?
I'm good. Good evening, Othor.
Good evening to you, sir. We appreciate you being here. I know you've had a long day, a full day in meetings all day and a community meeting tonight. So I'm saying Sheriff Chief only because you were elected as sheriff and the chief position came later. I've heard a lot of people say Chief Sheriff. Which one do you prefer?
It doesn't matter. Either one is fine. One thing about it, of course, the chief is just temporary. So whatever order anyone decides is fine with me. I'm not necessarily caught up on that.
I got you. Well, look, man. Again, thank you for being here. Let's go back though. Let's talk about you and your professional career for a little bit before we get into this recent string of gunfire in Jackson, because I do really want to spend some time in that space. But let's talk about your career. When you and I talked, you were being appointed as chief, and I think that I said, man, that speaks volumes, because you could say that you went through the ranks from a recruit at the Jackson Police Department, and now you're the top cop in Jackson. And I think that speaks volume to not only who you are personally, but your professional career, your professional acumen. I think it speaks volume to that. Talk a little bit about doing this and what this means to you, having grown up within the Jackson Police Department.
Yeah. So, Othor, first of all, let me again stress how proud we should all be of outgoing Chief Joseph Wade for the job that he has done with the Jackson Police Department. Is is very, very rewarding for him to have what I would consider an honorable retirement, and we wish him the best as he continues to move forward in the next phase of his professional career as well as his life. That not only should he be happy, but his family should be happy and proud of the job he's done, along with the community as a whole. And as you know, I did start out at the Jackson Police Department as a young recruit at the age of 22 years old. And I worked my way through the ranks of the Jackson Police Department prior to my departure after, excuse me, after 20 years of service. And when I departed the Jackson Police Department after 20 years of service to join the Hinds County Sheriff's Office at that particular time, first of all, it was not foreseen that I would be sitting as the elected sheriff of Hinds County at that particular time. Another thing that definitely was not foreseen is me being the sheriff and the interim chief of the Jackson Police Department. So, I am very humble about this situation and about this opportunity. I don't take this lightly. I believe that this is another blessing for my career and what I have dedicated myself to the city of Jackson and Hinds County for nearly 26 years, which is over half of my adult life. But where I am today should not be dedicated to me personally. I have a family that has stood by me through the thick and through the thin, and I have a community that has supported me also. But not only that, we have to also pay homage to the men and women on both sides of the street. And when I say that, I'm referring directly to the Jackson Police Department as well as the Hinds County Sheriff's Office for the job that they do on a day-to-day basis with regards to their respective areas or wherever they are assigned. They conduct and do a very professional job for the community and for both departments as well.
So I think that you're absolutely right, and thank you for acknowledging Chief Wade. Certainly, we were going to do that. He has had a storied career. I think that he can be credited with absolutely restoring morale within the ranks of the Jackson Police Department. I think for me, one of his biggest accomplishments has been bringing some of the seasoned veteran officers back to the Jackson Police Department. So I think that speaks volumes for him. And honestly, I knew people loved Chief Wade. I just didn't even know how much until he announced his retirement, man. They started comparing him almost to Jesus. I was like, whoa, I knew they liked him. But I really didn't know the impact. It was that impactful. So absolutely kudos to him and the next phase of his career. But you too, Sheriff, you've had a very storied career. You've dedicated your life to public service, to law enforcement. I remember once on the campaign trail, you one of the phrases that you used, you talked about consistent, 20 years consistently, in law enforcement. And I think that speaks volumes. I want to ask you this, because I heard this on the news tonight. Well, I heard this gentleman on the news tonight who was saying that it's almost impossible for you to do both. He wants the mayor to go ahead and name a chief and you get back to sheriff because things are just, out of control in his mind in Jackson. Talk about the reality of serving in both of these roles, and how do you make that work?
So, as I stated the other day, Otho, working in Jackson, I was not put in a foreign or unknown territory that I was not familiar with. My office is in Jackson. Jackson is in Hinds County. We have been working collectively with the Jackson Police Department over many years. I worked there for 20 years, and I pretty much know the day-to-day operations of the department. I'm familiar with the current command staff, and I'm familiar with the job that needs to be done there. So, me being able to operate both again, and I stress that it's just temporary, is until they conduct a very thorough and transparent search for a new chief, and a new chief is placed. But it's just like anything else with the day-to-day operations of the sheriff's office. I have a very good command staff that are very capable of some of the decisions that need to be made. I value them, and I value their decision making process also as it relates to administrative issues, as well as them dealing with the general public. And I have that same thoughts when it comes to the Jackson Police Department. There's a command staff that is in place there, and I have seen the work that they have done, and I trust their decision making and their abilities also. I'm just filling in as an administrator for the Jackson Police Department, that administrator between the department and the mayor's office. While the mayor conducts a thorough search, and the search committee conducts a thorough search to name a permanent chief, I have to respect Mayor Horn for his decision to ask me to do this job. And again, I don't take this lightly at all. I'm of the mindset, if someone have enough respect for you and ask you to do something, then obviously they're asking you to do it for a specific reason. And I'm here to serve, and I'm here to help. And I could not say no to the mayor, because I do know that what he's looking for in the chief for the Jackson Police Department. Of course, I am not a part of that permanent process. I believe that some of the men and women of the Jackson Police Department could very well become candidates for that particular position also. So I'm there in a very neutral spot, in a very neutral position to fulfill this role until a new chief has been selected and named. So as it relates to the day-to-day operations of both of these departments, I don't foresee any problem with me being able to conduct the day-to-day operations of both departments.
Yeah, and I don't recall anybody questioning Macmillan when he did dual roles. I don't recall seeing that on the news at all. But some kind of way, it's always us when it's us.
Well,
But Greg posed a question. I was going to ask this question a little later, but I'll ask it now. Greg says, "Will you play? Will you be a part of the search committee for a new chief?" And my question actually was going to be, will you be able to offer input and make recommendations, particularly maybe from within the ranks of the Jackson Police Department?
So I would probably be serving more like a special advisor to the search committee. The search committee, they're still working on getting all of the members of that committee together. I would not be directly a part of the committee itself, but I will serve as a special advisor to that committee. And what that looks like at this particular point, I'm not exactly sure, other than the fact of me offering how the day-to-day operations of the Jackson Police Department are. I don't look to get too involved on my opinion as it relates to some of the candidates or some of those that may go through the vetting process. Again, I think that needs to be done more neutral, and I think it should be done transparent. Also, along with it being done to protect the integrity of the department, and again, those from within that I'm sure will apply for the job.
Got it. In your fairest opinion, and I hope you can answer this, in your fairest opinion, when you look at the city of Jackson and you look at the Jackson Police Department, I would say that we are somewhat different from other major metropolitan cities, right? Major urban cities. I would say that we are different. I think that Jackson Police Department um, embodies community policing, right? I think the Jackson Police Department is so connected with the community. I think that people like in Jackson, they like going to the grocery store and being able to come up to their chief of police and, you know, talk to him on aisle 9 or whatever the case may be. They like to maybe be able to call him. So I think that the Jackson Police Department truly embodies what community policing is all about. And I don't think you find that reality or that type of departments in other major urban cities. So I guess I want to ask you, um, do you think they should look outside of the ranks of JPD in addition to looking within, or solely outside, or solely within? What's your opinion?
So I will say this. I don't think that I really have a direct opinion about that. I think that they should conduct a search. Should they include candidates from inside? Yes, of course they should, but it shouldn't be limited to one or the other. I think that it should be fair. I think that it should be transparent, and I think that it should fit what the expectations of the current administration are, right? And I
Right.
think that it has to be, again, someone that is looking to fulfill the role, as well as what does it take to be the chief of a police department in Jackson, Mississippi today? Do you have those same values? Do you have those same attributes that you can offer to not only the Jackson Police Department, but the community as a whole? You know, you spoke specifically about having that connection. And I believe that over the last several years, the Jackson Police Department, along with Chief Wade, have put in a lot of effort and work to continue to bridge that gap between the community and the Jackson Police Department. So there won't be so much of broken trust between the two. I think that you have to be transparent. You have to listen, and you have to include the community. And if you include the community and make the community feel like they are a part of your department, you value the community, you value the relationship with the community. So I think outside of uh, anyone else wanting to be the chief, I think that these are just some of the general categories that you're going to have to have. Another thing, you're going to have to value and be affiliated and have professional relationships. You can't be the Jackson Police Department and be out there on the island by yourself and say that we can do this alone. You're going to have those relationships and partnerships with my office, the Hinds County Sheriff's Office, as well as other federal and state law enforcement agencies. We build trust with partnerships and relationships, and we're able to share resources and assets in the law enforcement community with having those partnerships and relationships. So again, whoever is chosen, I think that they should be strong on having partnerships and relationships and being able to come to the table with all of the law enforcement agencies to be able to address the issues that the Jackson Police Department have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, because you know we see some of the challenges that we face, and we're no different than any other urban city and some of
Right.
the challenges that they face also.
So, you know, unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, depending on your perspective, the chief spot becomes political in as much as it is law enforcement and administration. So I think that the next chief has to have a firm grasp on that aspect of the job because it is an appointment based job, right?
That's right. And you know, you try to you try to exclude politics out of it, as much as you can. Even in my current position as the sheriff, I try not to be too politically motivated by certain things. I have people tell me all the time, you are a full-blown politician now, and I somewhat tend to disagree with them, because in my mind, even though politics are involved, I'm still a servant of the people.
Right.
And I don't put myself above going out and answering a call for service, just like any other officer, any other deputy does, because that's what I pretty much been doing all of my career anyway. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You are appointed. You are appointed by a mayor. You have a city council. All of these people are in politics. They are elected officials. So we can't say necessarily that politics won't be involved. But again, when it comes to politics, you can still have politics, but politics should not supersede selecting and choosing the right person to lead the job or to lead that department. It shouldn't play, or it shouldn't be a major factor in that. Once that person is selected, and once there is a new chief in place, just like anything else, Othor, in public service, city government, you're going to have politics involved.
Absolutely going to have. I'm reminded of when Chief Vance was there. Chief Vance was like, you know what? I'm the person with the law enforcement experience. I have been here X number of years, and I don't want politics to get in this thing. So he jumped the deuces, at the Jackson Police Department, and not at them, but at the mayor at that time. But I totally get that, man, because you really want to be able to do your job without having to fight politically. But I think that the next chief has to understand that there really is a role that you have to balance.
Well, one more thing, Othor, let me say this also. When we say politics possibly being involved, right? But politics and crime, politics should not drive your decision when it comes to addressing crime and the criminal element. That's totally opposite.
Correct.
Your decision making should be based on what's best for the community, what's best for the department, and what's best for the safety of the people also. So, we can't put politics over safety is what I'm trying to say. You can't put politics over people's lives and people's property, right?
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. I got 2 more questions, and then we're going to move to something else. Carol, good to see you. Carol is saying, are there residency requirements for the Jackson Police Chief? Does the Jackson Police Chief have to live in Jackson, Mississippi?
From my understanding, that's a very valid question. I'm not familiar with any type of residency rules at this particular time. No.
Yeah, I'm not either. I don't know of any, but I think it should be. I think it should be a mandate that they live. And hey, Pauline, good to have you here. Pauline says, what, if any, say-so do the citizens of the city have, or should have, and should they have a say? If so, what would that process be, and what would it look like? Should the citizens have a say in picking the next chief?
So it's my understanding that the search committee that will be conducting the search, I think some of the tools that they will be using, they will be valuing input from the community as well as some of the citizens. Also, now what that looks like at this particular time, I don't know the specifics, but I do know that is part of the criteria for the search, to have community input, to have department input also.
Yeah, got it. All right, so let's turn now to this deadly Labor Day weekend in the city of Jackson. I watched some news clips, and you said that you don't necessarily think, or the evidence don't necessarily point to the direction that these shootings were random, right? There's some connection. I think that hearing you on the news earlier today, I think you may have even said that there could possibly be some retaliation. There could possibly be some gang affiliation there. Bring us up to speed in terms of not only where you are in the investigation, but what have you been able to ascertain to this point?
So I speak specifically on the homicides right now, the double homicide and the quadruple shooting that they had in South Jackson, I think on Dogwood Trail the other night. Even as I speak tonight, the investigations division is and have made major progress in possibly identifying suspects involved in that particular incident. And just like I said earlier, when I spoke during the news press this morning, I said that this was a situation where victim to offender, the victims and the offenders knew one another. They knew each other. They were affiliated in some way. And it's the same with the incident where the young man was killed in Atkins the other night. They have made an arrest in that particular matter, and they're still looking for other possible suspect information.
Right?
I'm sorry, you cut out. Say it one more time.
An 18-year-old was arrested for the situation at Ridgewood and Atkins, right?
Yes, that's my understanding. He's 18 years old. Yes.
Wow. So it seemed as if the homicides were trending down for a while. Crime in that space was trending down. What are your thoughts in terms of how JPD moves forward with? And I know you can't arrest your way out of this, and police cannot be all over the city, everywhere at all times. But what are your thoughts about moving forward with getting a handle on what's happening in Jackson?
So, in all transparency, the numbers are trending downward. Any loss of life is too many. And you hate to say that you have had a loss of life and someone has been victimized or killed, but then on the other side of that, you still have to say that the numbers are trending downward following 3 what I would consider senseless murders. So, that's part of the investigation, right? Those are crimes that have happened that you have to investigate. But now if you look at the reality of it and you look at the numbers, yes, the numbers have or have fallen. They have been trending downward, even with the weekend violent crimes. The numbers are still trending downward in comparison to last year. And I even went even further earlier, Othor, because I wanted to know what are the exact numbers, right? So the Jackson Police Department has conducted 40 homicide investigations as of right now for the year in the city of Jackson. So I wanted to know what the Capitol Police had also investigated, because those numbers are not included in the Jackson Police Department numbers also, right?
Absolutely.
So it's my understanding that they have conducted 7 homicides in the CCID this year, which gives you a total of approximately 47 homicides, still in comparison to the 70 or more that you had this time last year. So, you have to use your numbers, you have to use your data, but again, any loss of life is still a very tragic and very senseless situation. And I misspoke earlier, during my press, I said that it was sensible, but I did not mean to say that. I meant to say senseless. So that lets you know that sometimes we can make a mistake with our wording, because sensible and senseless are totally opposite. And of course, I didn't mean to say that, but they're senseless. And but the numbers. So I look to continue during my tenure to continue to have a decrease in crime. We will use data. We will use data to determine where resources are allocated, where manpower should be allocated, what the priority of manpower is right now. And Othor, for any police department, your major manpower and one of your major, your primary resources is your patrol division, because those are the men and women that are out answering that 911 call for help. These are the ones that have to have backup when they're responding to calls. So any police department, you should always prioritize your patrol division. Another thing that you have to also prioritize is your investigations division, to make sure that you have adequate manpower and that the manpower is spread fair and evenly throughout that division to be able to investigate the felony crimes also. So that's what I would continue to do during my tenure, is to prioritize resources, manpower, and allocate it where I see that it is necessary, based again on the data that's being provided, where your high crime areas are, and where you need the majority of your resources to be allocated to.
Man, I like the sound of this. I am a firm believer that the data, or some people say data, should drive you, right? It should drive the direction that you go in, right? Because you have to follow that. And I totally respect you, totally feel you when you say it's hard to talk about numbers that you would like to lift up in terms of crime trending down when someone has lost their life. That's a hard conversation to really have, but it's still true nonetheless. So we appreciate that. I do want to give you an opportunity, though. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying, we kind of got cut off, but let me say this, Othor, one more thing. I look back at the numbers from 2021, 2022, and, it was depressing to see that the city had experienced 150 murders a year, 130 murders a year, 120 murders a year. That's depressing to look at these numbers. So when we talk about data and we talk about the downward trend of numbers, we have come a long way from those numbers. We would love to get it where it's absolutely none, but unfortunately, that's not the case, because so many people have lack of conflict resolution. People have less discipline, and unfortunately, they decide to involve gunplay in their lack of conflict resolution and lack of being able to resolve issues.
Absolutely. Sheriff, you talked about gangs. I think that you're only, for me, in my mind, as far as I can remember, you're only one of maybe two, possibly three chiefs that have identified gang activity as being a problem in Jackson. And whether it was true back there or not, and even though I believe that it was, no one would really acknowledge that. In your mind, in your best assessment, talk to me about how much involvement do you think gang activity, or how much havoc do you think gangs are wreaking on the city of Jackson?
So, when we talk about gangs, people think about rival gangs. People think about your Vice Lords, your Bloods versus your Crips, your Black Gangster Disciples, whatever their respective organization is. But you have so many different hybrid gangs, right? You have neighborhood gangs, right? And, if you look up the definition of what a gang is, right, and the type of activity surrounding a gang, then it's not hard to define and determine that this is a gang that you're dealing with. This is a gang issue that you're dealing with. We think about years ago when you had your red and black, your blue and black, and, you had, we think about colors and all of that. Well, it's much, much more sophisticated. It's much more organized, right? It's so much more criminal activity involved with gangs and with gang activities. It's very safe to say that some of the violent crime that has happened over the last couple of years in Jackson have been gang related. We have the evidence to show that it's been gang related. We have the statements to prove that it's been gang related, that it was gang driven, affiliation driven. And another thing that I can also attest to is when I was with the police department, when I was the commander of the robbery homicide division there, we conducted several violent crime investigations throughout the city of Jackson, along with our partnerships with our federal partners. And one thing that we came to realize when it comes to gangs is you had actual rival gangs, right, coming together to form what I would say a hybrid gang, right? And it wasn't to have violence amongst each other, but they were actually affiliated and going out and committing crimes together, right? So, and I speak specifically of one of them that we conducted an investigation on, and it was MOB. MOB was a gang affiliation back years ago, not a few years ago or so, I guess 7-8 years ago, I would say. And they were actually composed of rival gangs, but they would come together and they would go out in the community and they were robbing people. They were robbing businesses. They were robbing service stations. They were shooting guns at people. And eventually what ended up happening, you had loss of life regarding this also. So some of these individuals that were affiliated with this activity and this behavior, we introduced them to the federal system. Some of them ended up going to federal prison for some of the crimes that they committed also. So we cannot say that gangs don't exist. There are many gangs, right? There are many neighborhood gangs. I see Quinn Hollins just commented that some of the gangs are groups, right? So it's a matter of how you define them, but it's the criminal activity that surrounds these gangs or groups that they go out into the community, and the community suffers regarding their behaviors.
I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right, and I appreciate you not only acknowledging that, but recognizing that there has to be, a real plan to fight, and to get a grip on this situation. So that's your role as chief. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening in Hinds County and with the sheriff's office. The Department of Justice, they're doing their thing. You're balancing and trying to do your thing. Bring us up to speed just in terms of what's happening at the Raymond Detention Center, and specifically your role there now, since the courts ruled the way they ruled.
So, we are in contact with the receiver that the federal courts have appointed. He's been in contact with my office, as well as the legal team for the county, as well as the board of supervisors, and of course the county administrator's office also. So right now we're still all working collectively together regarding the day-to-day operations of specifically the Raymond Detention Center. There will be more measurements that will be put in place in the foreseen future regarding the operations of that particular facility. But another thing, Othor, that we have to also consider, and I have spoken about this, and I see it rising continuously, as of this morning, and we gauge our numbers again on what the data shows, right? How many people are in your facility? How long have they been in these facilities? What are they charged with? What are their bonds? When do they go to trial? When would they move their way through the criminal justice system as a whole? And as of this morning, we had 949 pretrial detainees in our custody. 949. That includes about 43 juveniles charged as adults. That includes our detainees in Tallahatchie at the Raymond Detention Center.
Right. Got 200 in Tallahatchie.
That's right, as well as the work center down on the county farm. Hinds County has never sustained this many pretrial detainees in our custody, probably in the history of Hinds County, I'm quite sure. So, this is a burden that's on the county as well as the sheriff's office, because we don't have any particulars or any say-so on who comes to the facility or how they leave. We'll just have a responsibility of housing them in a facility, transporting them back and forth to court, and providing detention staff for the facilities. But what I have experienced and what I have seen probably over the last 6 weeks or so is a steady increase in our population. And what I am not seeing is a decrease in our population regarding how fluid the criminal justice system is moving. Because when these individuals exit our facility, they go two places. They go home or they go to prison. And of course, it's not up to us to determine how they go or where they go. But to be responsible for this many detainees at one particular time,
unacceptable.
Yeah, it's very alarming and it's concerning.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying it's very alarming and it's very concerning because, every day is how much more can you take specifically still with the challenges that we're facing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would say this too, man. There are so many contributing factors to that in terms of why, in my mind, you're overcrowded. Because at one point, you had gotten the numbers down, right? They were low at one point, in the facility. But there are so many factors involved, and I don't think a lot of people understand just how the Hinds County judicial system really works, right? I don't know that the average layperson fully understand how it works. And I believe one solution, because there are many problems, but one solution is to figure out how to get everybody on the same page, right? To figure out, the judges, the DA, the law enforcement officials, all of these people that make up the Hinds County judicial system have got to be, on the same page. The cylinders have got to be rolling together and in the same direction. That's how you move people in and out of there. And I will point out this, these are pre-trial detainees, right, that are at the Hinds County, the Raymond Detention Center. These are pre-trial detainees who have not been charged, right, they've not had trial, they've not done any of those things. So it's going to take that whole system, all of those people working together. I was having this conversation the other day. But I also think what compounds the problem, or what is compounding the problem now, and no shade on Capitol Police, but they are making a lot of arrests, right? And from Capitol Police, the detention center is being flooded with people. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be arrested. I am saying that is contributing to the overcrowdedness at that detention center. Would you not agree? Oh, I think he went on mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Othor. So you're absolutely right. And what has happened in Hinds County is, Hinds County has established a new police department that operates in Hinds County, and by law, they have the right to operate just like any other police department, which means arrests will be made. Well, when those arrests were made by Capitol Police, just like Jackson Police Department and any other department in Hinds County, with respect to the agency, they still come to the Hinds County Detention Center for them to be housed. So when you have a new police department, just like you said, there will be arrests made. So this, of course, may not have been considered as much during that particular time. But again, it has caused our numbers to increase. But now, don't get me wrong. If people commit a crime, right?
Absolutely.
They should be arrested, and they should be held accountable.
No matter who the agency is, they should be arrested, right?
Yeah. So it just what happens on the back end of that arrest that sometimes hold the process up and holds the criminal justice proceedings up which is completely out of the hands of law enforcement during that particular time.
Right. Another problem, if we're honest, Sheriff, another problem is the facility itself, right? The facility itself is not up to par, and you got more people and less room, at that facility now, right?
You're right. You have more people. We still face staffing challenges, but the new jail is under construction. It is fully under construction. There's a lot of progress that have been made with phase one of that facility. But, Othor, you have two things. You have short-term sustainability and you have long-term sustainability. That new jail that's being built, that is your long-term sustainability. But what about your short-term sustainability when you have 949 people that you are responsible for? Yeah, you have a jail that's under construction that, of course, you can't use any aspects of at this particular time. You have the Raymond Detention Center that was poorly built years ago when it was built, and as I sit here in my office right now, look right across the street from where my office is. And when you speak to officials from back during that time where they proposed that the jail be built right here in downtown Jackson, close to where the Jackson Detention Center is, but the decision was made to put that jail, some may say it's nearly 20 miles away from downtown. The company or those that were responsible for constructing that facility, is no secret. They did a very, very poor job with constructing that facility. And that facility was not constructed again for long-term sustainability. Maintenance-wise, it was not constructed to last a period of time. It was like, well, we'll construct this and we'll build it this way, but once the expiration date goes out on some of the things that we use to construct this facility, you're on your own. We're trying to find out how to repair it and how to replace it.
Absolutely. And I would say not to get a response from you, but I would say, High County taxpayers could face the possibility of a millage increase, to help go towards completing that new jail. So you're still in phase one. You guys have been hovering in phase one of that jail for a very long time.
Yeah, but yes, you're absolutely right. But the actual construction of phase one has not been in existence for a long period of time. There was so much infrastructure that was included in phase one that had to be completed. The water tower project, as well as other infrastructure issues that had to be addressed before they actually started building the facility itself. Now, once they started building and they got the infrastructure in place, man, they have done a very, very good job of moving forward with the construction of that facility. As a matter of fact, I got an email from the contractors earlier today that they're already in the process of getting ready to start selecting some of the logistics for that particular phase to go for the facility and some of the things that we would need for that facility also. So it's a very fluid situation. They're moving along very good. And, again, I have to.
They're running out of money, huh?
Yeah. But
they're moving along good, but they're running out of money.
Yeah, but you can't stop the construction. You cannot reverse what's being done, and you can't halt this project.
You can't control. If we're honest, you can't control the cost, right?
That's
Things
right.
change, as time goes on, so you can't control the cost. Pauline, that's a very good point, and that is a conversation for another time, but I do want to highlight it. Pauline Rogers says the improper, poor construction of these facilities is intentional and part of environmental injustice issues. She said that's another conversation, but that's a great conversation to have coming up. But Sheriff, you seem to be confident with the progress and the work that's happening with the construction of the new facility. There's no timeline of when you move to the next phase, is there?
So So the new facility, the phase one, from my understanding, is about 40% complete for phase one. There's a projected completion date of maybe as early as next summer for phase one. Now, what has to happen after phase one? There has to be financing, architectural work that will be done to move directly into phase two. But what we can't allow to happen is there is a cutoff period and there is a settling period between the construction of phase one and phase two. Hopefully, it's a fluid process where we can go ahead and move directly on into phase two to go ahead and get that particular phase completed also.
I got you. Man, I know you've had a long day. I really do appreciate you taking some time to share with us. I do want to give you an opportunity to just offer some closing thoughts, either dual roles or whatever the case may be. Job well done tonight, and I for one value your leadership, and I really do appreciate that. In your closing comments, will you address this question that Ron Brown has? How many phases are part of the construction of the jail project?
So there are 3 phases that are part of the project, and once this jail is fully constructed, it can house up to approximately 700 detainees. So what the long-term sustainability is to finish completing this facility. And once this facility has been completed, hopefully they can get it done by a projected date of sometime maybe in 2028. Then the Rainbow Detention Center will close its doors for good once this facility has been completely constructed.
Good deal. Any closing thoughts for you, sir?
No, Othor, just glad to be able to come on and talk about, our role as it relates to my dual role. As you can see, I'm still here in the office. It has been an extremely long day, but I will say it has been very productive. There have been some good communication between the sheriff's office as well as the police department. I met with the police department command staff. I feel like we had a very productive meeting today, and I also had a meeting with the mayor following that meeting that I felt was very productive. And I had a meeting with the outgoing Chief Joseph Wade today also. So I think today has been a very fulfilling day as I continue to move on with assuming more responsibilities for the Jackson Police Department and the day-to-day operations of the department. Also, the only thing that we continue to share with the community, that we continue to value the community, and we must always make them feel like they are a part of our law enforcement operations. And we encourage the community to be involved. If you see something, say something. Report things before it becomes a situation where violence is spewed among people, and you have innocent people that are in their homes, in their businesses, or wherever, and they suffer as it relates to that. But the men and women of both departments do a very, very good job. They do a professional job with the services that they provide to our community. So as I always say, and I will continue to say, pray for the men and women in law enforcement. Pray for their families also. It takes a very selfless family to lend their loved ones to law enforcement and to public service also. So continue to pray for them. And, hopefully we can have a little bit more peace in our communities, and people decide to use other measurements instead of victimizing and creating a violent atmosphere for some of the behavior that we're seeing. That we want people to be able to get along, and we want to change the mindset of people also. We want to change the mindset of not only the people, but the mindset of the homes in the community. We wish that village still existed, that village that helped raise me, I'm sure, and help raise you also, where you can hold others accountable, for their actions, and there would be no repercussions or retaliation
Absolutely.
behind it. But unfortunately, that has somewhat gone in the other direction. But one more thing, Othor, that we have to also give kudos to the many community organizations that are out day to day trying to provide services to the community, and to be that liaison between the community and the liaison for law enforcement. So many people want to help, and they don't want anything in return. They don't want money. They don't want recognition. They just want to be able to know that they are part of something, and that the fruits of their labor will be steered in the right direction also. So we have to give kudos and thanks to the many community organizations that are out working and seeking to make a change in our communities also.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for that. Very, very well said. One thing that I didn't ask you, and real quick, I want to do it. I think you're the first person serving dual roles where Capitol Police is a part of it. So how do you bridge all of that? How do you bring, not even bring, but how do you continue to build on the relationship between Capitol Police and the Hinds County Sheriff's Office and the Jackson Police Department? Because I think there's strength in numbers, right? I think there's strength in numbers.
Yeah, so we've already, prior to me becoming the interim chief, I had a very good working relationship with the Jackson Police Department as well as Capitol Police, and we will continue to value that partnership and that relationship. There's just one missing element at this particular time, and that is a permanent chief that's in place. But I will say this, I will say that whatever permanent chief is in place, just like I said earlier, they must value the partnerships and the relationships that are currently in place. Not only value them, but continue to look to find a way to strengthen these partnerships and make these relationships better on a day-to-day basis. So whatever permanent chief comes in behind me, Capitol Police by law have a right to operate here in the city of Jackson. And it would be in any chief or any law enforcement head's best interest to make sure that you can work collectively together. We don't need bad blood between law enforcement agencies that have to work together, because at any point in time, we can respond to a call together. We can respond where we need Capitol Police, Hinds County Sheriff's Office. You may see Byram, you may see Clinton, Bolton, Terry, Utica responding to calls together, right? And another thing, you may see law enforcement agencies from outside of Hinds County responding together. So it's not just a matter of the relationships that you have within your respective county, because crime has no boundaries, right? At any point in time, you may have to be affiliated with these law enforcement agencies outside of your county. So it's good to have those relationships and those partnerships in place also.
Very good. Sheriff Chief Jones, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you, man.
All right. Appreciate you, and always good speaking with you.
Same here, brother. Thank you very much. There you have it. And what a great conversation about blending the two agencies together. Just from the conversation itself, it gives you a sense of safety and a sense of purpose. So again, thank you very much to Sheriff Chief Jones. Thank you guys so much for being with us tonight. We certainly do appreciate it. We could not do this without you. This is what we talk about when we talk about supporting Black media, because we're able to go beyond the headlines, right? We're able to have real in-depth conversation that you're not going to find in a 30-minute newscast, because they're bound by time restrictions. So we're able to dig deep and go past or go beyond the headline. Thank you guys very much for being with us tonight. We'll talk to you again. Pauline, thank you. I appreciate you. Have a good night, everybody.